All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Hi to everyone in the States and Europe, etc. We're live here from Australia and the UK. I'm joined with Charlotte and, of course, Steve. But in a second here, we'll turn things over to them to talk a little bit about the AI Pulse Report. Don't worry, you're in the right place. This is a webinar talking about that. But before we begin, just wanted to start with some housekeeping items here. So first and foremost, this is one of many webinars. Congratulations, you made it to the coolest spot we have for Octopus Deploy, which is our webinars series. So you can find more webinars at our homepage, which is at octopus.com/webinars. There you'll see a page that looks like this. Today we're hosting this presentation by Charlotte and Steve entitled Introducing the AI Pulse Report, but that is not all. We have other reports, we have other webinars coming soon. So we have in just a few days' time some other webinars that you might want to check out. We have this one that we're co-hosting with Cloudsmith entitled Building Trust from Source to Ship, the missing link in your golden path. We also have our 2026.1 release party. Yes, so for those who aren't aware, Steve's excited. 2026.1 is out and now available. We're going to have a release party where we talk about all the stuff that's awesome about it, and we'll highlight some features and showcase some demos, so make sure to sign up for that. We also have Dan and Custis talking about why Argo CD breaks at scale and how to avoid it. That's on March 18th. And then to wrap things up, Charlotte and Steve are doing their sort of whirlwind tour around AI, etc., talking with TechStrong about the report, talking about how developer tools and organizational incomes are two of the major impacts around AI. And then finally, to wrap things up, we got at the start of April, myself, Dan, and Steve are going to be talking about KubeCon EU. So lots and lots of stuff coming. Again, that's available all up at octopus.com/webinars. Now, we're here to talk about the AI Pulse Report. I'm going to provide the link right away here. So this is where you can find the AI Pulse Report. We just published this. So if you go to this URL that you see at the bottom of your screen, you can sign up and download it today. But don't worry, you're in the right spot. We're going to be talking about that in this webinar. But if you want to download it yourself and follow along at home, as the kids like to say, you can certainly do so. And if for any other reason, if you're not able to hang out with us this whole time, you can follow along, obviously, with the recording of this by visiting our YouTube channel, which is at youtube.com/octopusdeploy. There you'll find all the recordings for this, along with other videos that we do. We publish almost daily now, videos and content there. I did a summary video about the AI Pulse Report here. You can find all kinds of things there. So like and subscribe, as the kids say. Anyways, without any further ado, Steve, Charlotte, welcome to the webinar. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves, and then we can get into the content of today's show.
Yeah, sure. Do you want to go first, Steve?
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone, I'm Steve. I am one of the people who does research here at Octopus Deploy, but I am joined today by a much more expert researcher, which is Dr. Charlotte. And so, Charlotte, let's hear an introduction from you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Charlotte. I'm a researcher at Octopus Deploy. I actually have a background in science research, and I did my PhD a few years ago. And from there, I went on to do a bit of lecturing for a few years. And it was there that I got into survey research, which is what brought me here. So focusing on quantitative data. Yeah, so that brought me to Octopus, which is very exciting.
Fantastic. All right. Oops, I brought up the wrong one already. Let's take a look here. There we go. Awesome. So we are going to talk about the AI Pulse Report. What is this all about?
So the interesting thing about AI is it's very fast moving right now. And although we're tempted to look for best practices, it's probably too soon for that. And we should continue to experiment. All these new things are coming out. Agent swarms are the latest thing that everyone's talking about, but by next week, it'll be something else. And what we wanted to do was have a look into some original research and some meta-analysis about what's going on with AI. And having Charlotte here has been brilliant for this because she's got so much experience in how to actually go about this kind of task. One of the things I'd like to call out right up front, we'd love to have questions. So if you see a chart or anything like that throughout this presentation and you're like, what's that all about? And we haven't explained it well enough, throw a question in. We're going to answer all your questions probably at the end.
Yes. Feel free to, like make us go into a few more details if we miss them, because we've seen these graphs a lot. So sometimes that's a good reminder.
Yep. All right, let's kick things off.
Yep, let's go. Cool. So this is just a bit of overview about where we actually drew the data from. So like Steve said, we did a primary survey and we got 379 responses for this, which is really exciting. And we also complemented this data with industry research for the literature review. And we gathered a lot of data from Dora, the many Dora reports, they're amazing, DX, Stack Overflow, and some others as well. Yeah, so that's how the report was made. Yeah.
And it's worth calling out, we've got lots of different industries represented in the data. People from across the world have responded. We've tried to make sure we've got a nice broad sample. And thank you to everyone who responds to this survey and our other surveys. We really couldn't do this without you.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. It's really exciting to get a lot of responses. It's great. Yeah.
Keep responding, everyone.
Yes, please do. We need them. So this is the first slide, and it's actually, the slides are kind of designed in the way the report comes out, so it's in the similar order. But wanted to focus on this, which is the AI productivity promise. So this is really important because it shows how the industry is, I guess, adopting AI with remarkable enthusiasm. So 74% of executives view AI as critical to the company's success. 60% of executives are aggressively innovating with AI. There's a huge investment, which is an interesting stat just here. And then, so actually that stat is really interesting, and I got it from a DX podcast. But some organizations are spending between 1% to 8% of their revenue on AI tools. I don't think that number is actually, that's quite a common expenditure now on AI tools. So it's actually quite common. I feel like it was probably a lot about a year ago, but that's very normal now, if not even much more than that.
Most of that is in tokens, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, prompt tokens for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And then, so this graph down here is an executive perspective in which executives choose AI productivity over team retention. So we've got on the left here that 67% of executives have said that they would use AI tools for 50% productivity gain, even if it means reducing headcount, versus 33% of executives that would prefer to keep colleagues, even if it means less productive. So that was straight from the AI at Work report. There was just a few stats that I pulled. So that was a really interesting stat. It just pitches and puts a little bit of perspective in how we are adopting AI in our software industry. So talking about productive, Steve loves this word. I guess it can mean a variety of things. It can be a bit vague, but what we went with in the report was that it's not just about speed, but it's how much employees are measured and how much organizations can actually accomplish with AI tools. So that was based on all the different sources that we used to make the report. But it's also based on performance and well-being of employees as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, productivity is a hot button topic for me because usually when you hear the word productivity, someone's trying to sell you something. And when you have a product that doesn't really do anything, the best thing you can do is say it will make you more productive. And you haven't defined what that means. It's completely meaningless. So when you're introducing AI into your organization, before you start trying to work out if AI is working, sit down and work out what productivity means for you. And if your business is there to make cars and sell cars, that's your productivity, right? You should be seeing cars and people driving off in the cars. That means you're succeeding. And it's going to be different for every organization. Some organizations might be more in that trying to keep costs low, service lots of customers mode. And so success will look very different to them to a company that's trying to aggressively innovate, which I think looks like this. They will want more maybe feature experiments to happen. And so that's what productivity means for them. So definitely know that first. I'm really curious about this 1 to 8% of their revenue being spent on AI, because that sounds almost in the realms of a regulatory fine. This is a lot of money.
Oh, that's a good point. I actually, I'm not sure, but in that podcast, 1 to 8% is almost the same as the budget of a marketing team. So I guess that's a little bit of a comparison there as to how much companies are spending on AI tools. And
wow.
Yeah, so that's a lot. What I will say, and is really important, is that despite this massive investment that we are all experiencing and the hype around it, only 1% of leaders actually rate their companies as, mature on the deployment spectrum with AI. So that's something that is key, and it's very much highlighted in the report that there's huge adoption, huge hype. We all really believe that AI is going to be, amazing for business, but the investment returns are not quite there yet. Yeah.
I actually have a lot of faith in the executives of the world that they've realized that it's probably too soon to say that they have a mature implementation of AI. Like, they're grown-ups, they get it, right? It's like, we don't know yet. We have to keep trying things out and seeing not just whether it works, but the right way to hold it. So, yeah, I appreciate them for admitting that they're not there yet.
Yeah, and only 1% said that they were, right? So, like, everyone's got a bit of a realistic view of AI and their knowledge of it, which is that it's changing a lot, so we can't know everything about it yet.
Nope.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is the next slide, which is on AI adoption. So, on the left, we've got just some stats about how, I guess, individuals are adopting AI, in that 90% of tech professionals are using it at work. Trust is rising, generally speaking, in AI. So this stat, the 30% here, actually went down in 2025 compared to 39% had little to no trust in 2024. And that 58% of developers actually believe that they are faster when using AI tools. What is interesting to note is that 57%, of developers actually report AI performance as poor for complex tasks in their development workflows, which is what this graph shows on the right. So, 50% poor or very poor. I've combined them until 57% there. Rating AI performance as poor for complex tasks. And so what this means is that while AI is proficient at routine tasks, which I think we all know that it is very, very good at routine tasks, it is still struggling with the complex context-driven tasks that you need situational judgment for. So that's just, giving a quick check on AI capabilities so far, and that maybe we are using it for complex tasks which it is not ready for. That's kind of what this graph is showing.
There's something interesting in that, because actually I don't think any technology is great at complex tasks, which is why for about 70 years in software development, we've been saying start small and iterate and evolve your way to a working system. Maybe in the excitement over AI, we forgot to break things down. Really, there shouldn't be any complex tasks. It's a series of much smaller, simpler tasks that combine into a complex system. That's probably what we should be aiming for. We still need to take care of the architecture. We still need to take care of breaking down a big feature into small steps. I think that's one of the things that we probably need to relearn with AI. If we don't give it these big complex tasks, then we won't encounter that problem.
Yeah, exactly. So this could be also how we are implementing it, right? So it could be that we are perhaps still learning how to use it. So maybe we're not giving it the exact prompts that we need to give us the best outcome. And, that's why we are currently in our experimentation phase. So we are still learning how it works and learning how it works best and where it fits best. And that's what I guess the industry's current state of AI adoption is. We're still in the experimentation phase. And I feel like this pace will just go on and on because it's just changing so rapidly. But yes.
We've had a couple of questions that have come in. Sorry to interrupt, Steve. We've had a couple of questions that have come in recently. Just wanted to clarify for folks. So Dexterity X01 asks, well, I'm watching it on mute, so I can't hear much. Is this only developer survey or also other non-tech departments? We have a breakdown of our demographics on country and I believe role as well, don't we?
Yeah, but this graph in particular, so this one's got, the source of this was the 2025 Stack Overflow survey,
Yes.
and that's just purely developers.
Mm-hmm.
And that data is actually available online from the Stack Overflow website. Yeah.
He then, or she, followed up with another question saying, but it also means that 43% rated it as not bad for complex tasks, and what kind of complexity did they see? Any insights?
So didn't actually quite go into detail about what complexity or where specifically they were using it in their development workflows, but that would be something to follow up for sure. I think the detail on that will definitely be what is followed up after this research because we've had a lot of similar questions. And it's what people want to know because they want to know how it's being implemented in the development workflows. So yes, that's a really good point. Sure.
I know that anecdotally, I'm definitely seeing. Sorry, Steve, I'll get back to you in a second. But I know anecdotally, there's this idea of this AI productivity trap, where basically your best engineers are seeing a lot of productivity wins, but then the amount of code that's being generated by AI, this is in the developer space, obviously, is just becoming overwhelming now. They have to review PRs all the time, etc. So yes, productivity goes up, but we're spending a lot of time debugging. We're spending a lot of time figuring out what the code is actually being generated, etc. Sorry, Steve, I interrupted you.
Well, just to build on that, there is a school of thought right now, which I've come across a couple of times, which is humans can't possibly keep up with AI code generation. So maybe we should stop doing code reviews. And I'm interested to see how that plays out. I think I was trying to search for reasons why people would feel confident developing that way. Like maybe they check their tests thoroughly, but then don't check the implementation code because the tests are there to make sure it all works. But that doesn't seem to be the workflow people are using. So that's another area we'd love to explore. And in terms of complexity, one of the interesting things is we've just kind of got this whole, hey, now you can get whole teams of agents to work on this. Maybe that will solve the complexity problem or allow it to scale to the next level. But actually, there's some research that just came out in February where what they think has become a problem is that the kind of communication and cooperation overhead of breaking down a task and trying to instruct agents to do little pieces of it is causing the same problems that it would amongst a group of people, that you actually lose so much of the quality information as you transfer these tasks around and coordinate it all, that it doesn't perform actually much better than a single agent. Single agents can complete a task where a large swarm of agents can fail. And we also have to slightly keep an eye on our costs, right? Because if we're going to put a whole swarm of agents on it, the kind of cost per function point or whatever we want to look at in our software is going to go up.
There's too much oversight and it's not performing as well as we expected because because things are changing so rapidly and new things are coming in. We're trying different things. It's easy to say, stick to one, but there's so much hype around it that people are just trying these new things. There's so many new things coming out. and people want to try it, right? Because they've maybe had a little bit of success with another thing, and so yeah, they're just trying the next thing, seeing if it's better. And it's becoming a lot. Yep. Yeah, there's actually this cool article which was brought to my attention earlier this week by Jin Atkins. Shout out to Jin. And it's about brain fry, AI brain fry. And it's by the Harvard Business Review, and it's a bit similar to what you were saying, Steve, but it's about the mental fatigue of people now working with AI, and they are overseeing too many things, that they are mentally fatigued from managing the I guess the oversight of the work rather than the work itself. And so it's actually just changing a lot of people's day and how they're actually spending their work, like how they are spending their time at work. Yeah, it's changing a lot of things. It's really interesting. That's a really good article. I can share it if anyone's interested. But yeah, really, it's like everyone's a bit mentally fatigued from all the changes, I guess, that are happening rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
AI never gets tired, but we do, right? So maybe we need to dust off our Pomodoro timers, set a 25-minute timer, take a break,
Yes.
like rest ourselves a bit in between. So maybe the interesting thing to explore next is the people who think that it's not performing that well. Let's look into a breakdown of what ways.
Yeah, so this is this as well is from the Stack Overflow survey, but I just had to show it because I found it very interesting. This is something that I found deep in the data, and it's about developers' frustrations with AI. So 44% of developers are frustrated with AI solutions that are almost right but not quite. 30% are know that debugging AI-generated code is actually more time-consuming. And I think the most significant point of data in this graph is that 13% believe that they have become less confident in their own problem solving, which I think is quite concerning, really. It's quite a concerning sort of statistic. It's only 13%, but I mean, 13% is pretty big if 13% of people are questioning their own problem solving after using AI. So again, that points to perhaps how we are using it, what we are using it for, whether or not it maybe needs to be used for some things. I mean, we could go into this, could be talked about for ages about this graph in particular, but I love this graph. And actually, Steve, I think that you have a note on debugging AI generated code that's more time consuming. So like the output from AI is very different from what a human, would create. So yeah.
Dave Farley was highlighting a bit of research, which I think was done by Equal Experts. And one of the interesting findings was they were comparing human completion of tasks with AI completion of tasks. And the kind of average length of the change in terms of lines of code was about the same. But when you looked at like the minimum and maximums, the largest of the AI changes was massive. It was 10 times larger than the largest human change. So humans were around the 60 mark, I think, and then AI was around 600. So if you're not guiding it in the right way, it can create very large changes for what is actually a very small change to your code base, right? It's going to change way more than it needs to. And I think if you've tried out the AI tools, you've probably come across an instance where you've asked it to change a couple of lines of code, maybe to kind of tidy them up or split out a function. And then you find it's actually changed some of your tests as well, and maybe a configuration file, and it's pulled in a new dependency that you didn't want. And you're like, that's strange. And so normally I would walk it back and I'd say, like, don't do those things. I don't want a new dependency. Do not touch the tests, and just change this one file that I'm asking you to look at. And then it will do it again and it will do a better job. But
Yeah.
without that guidance, it can do some wild things. So I can imagine in those cases, if it's changing lots of files, the cognitive load of you trying to work out all of that change and work out what might have gone wrong is pretty high. There are techniques for this. I know that some of the people going full on with TDD will actually, when they have a failing test and then they change a piece of code, the test goes green, happy days. If you commit that and then you do a bit of refactoring and the tests go red, you don't try and debug it. You just undo it all, go back to the commit and try again. And so you don't have to spend any time debugging. And the amount of code you're throwing away is like a couple of very small changes. So I feel that we just need to, a lot of this stuff is like remembering what we already know. I'm also interested in this, where it says, I've become less confident in my own problem solving. This is people saying, I feel like it's making me a bit stupider, right? It's almost like you buy a couch, which is nice and comfortable, but you don't feel more rested if you spend a lot of time on the couch. You end up feeling more tired because your body is just used to just slouching around. I say this as someone who has done this. Like, that's a strange effect, right?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to that article that I just sent through the chat, by the way, because I think someone asked for it. But it's because we are producing more and more work, we are actually doing more and more work with AI, or I guess we think we are, or we're becoming faster, that it's producing so much content for us to check that we're actually not checking it properly, or we maybe are not able to check it properly because so much more is coming out. I feel like questioning your own problem solving is really interesting and also a little bit scary, because it could suggest a growing skills gap that is happening. I guess it depends on where you are in your career experience, who's questioning their own problem solving abilities. But it could suggest, a growing skills gap if it's the, I guess, more junior sort of developers that are opting in for this option when they're completing a survey like this. But I guess, yeah, so I think that's a future few years problem away, questioning this, I guess, growing skills gap, if that is a thing. But also, I guess what we do need to understand is that AI is a tool, and it's not a replacement for human work, because everything still needs human oversight. Yes, things can be automated. Yes, a lot of work can be faster with AI, but I mean, if it's producing so much code that you actually don't have time to check it, then that might be, might be a problem. Yeah.
Super interesting. Yeah. And we also know that this volume problem is actually resulting in people working more hours with AI rather than fewer hours, which is interesting as well. So we kind of need to take care of ourselves. If you're listening to this and you're spending like loads of hours of your free time continuing to work because AI is putting this pressure on you that you must deliver more, just pause, stay healthy. Charlotte, this box over on the right-hand side here, what's this all about?
So I added this here, and it's just a kind of insight into what AI excels at currently, which is writing repetitive code. It's really good at it. It's great at generating tests. It's actually fantastic for documentation quality and simple factoring. These are just a few things that AI excels at. Essentially, high volume routine tasks, AI is very good at. And that is what, many people are using AI for, but that is what it should be used for at the moment. What developers actually want is they want help with test maintenance, environment setup, security and compliance issues, and deployment management, which...
hey, I know a company that does that. Sorry.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But they want help with, complicated things in their development workflow. That's what developers want. And this is purely for developers as well. So this box here was actually taken from a DX study, and I can add that as well if people are interested. All of this information though is in the report. So if you do want more of an insight into how, I guess, the age groups are broken down, someone's just asked that on the chat. it's in the report. Yeah, it's all in the report, and it actually gives you the years of coding experience that will break down each sort of experience group. Yeah, but this box over here is essentially a bit of an overview as to what AI focuses on based on what people actually want from it. And so there is a bit of a gap here, right? It's very good at basic things, but people want it for complex things. So how do we actually use it in a way that is helping with those complex things? That's the I guess that's what we're trying to solve, and that's how we're, that's essentially what we all want to use it for. We want it for the complex things, but how do we do that? Yeah,
love that. So let's tackle the problem of coding faster not rolling up into like benefits at the organization level. I will quickly go to the next slide.
Quite
yes.
the diagram.
So, yes, I made this diagram, this little schematic with Canva, by the way. So I made this. This is just a schematic example of a software delivery pipeline, which looks different for everyone I know, and it's been scaffolded off DORA reports and Dave Farley continuous delivery reports. And essentially, I was able to, with the research, compile, looking at where AI excels and where it perhaps doesn't, and human limitations and AI limitations, where it is helping out in this workflow and where it actually is constrained and why. And so what we can see is that AI actually helps so much of the individual tasks in this delivery pipeline. But for many, I guess, organizations or teams, that code review is still a constraint, because this is constrained by, in things that I have read, by the senior developer availability or their capacity. So yes, so that's kind of what this this image says. So instead of perhaps focusing on speed with AI, which seems to be a general focus, we all want to just be faster, right? Faster, and speed is the thing at which we are implementing AI. We want to be faster at everything. We want things to take less time, to free up time for other things, maybe free up mental space to focus on other things. I don't know, just to have more spare time. I don't know. But that is why we are implementing AI in many instances. When instead maybe we should be focusing AI and pushing it towards the workflow rather than just individual tasks for individual people. So, Steve could talk a lot about this. Yeah, I'll let you chime in before I do.
Yeah, I think I want to comment on the speed thing. I get that we all think speed is the answer to everything, but if you look on your front drive, you probably don't have a drag racer. You probably have a car that can turn corners.
Speak for yourself.
So, and I think that's kind of what we want from development teams, which is why we wanted to be more agile, because we wanted to be able to change direction quickly. And I think we sometimes forget that it's that responsiveness to change that's the real crucial feature of agile, not the straight line speed. And I think there are books that have subtitles like twice the work in half the time, which I don't think have helped with this, because it's not about doing twice the work in half the time. It's about being able to change as you learn from feedback that you're getting from customers. So we don't want to drop 50 new features on customers all in one giant release because we can do it so quickly with AI. What we want to do is get each feature out, get feedback on it, and make that feature better and more valuable to the users. That's the speed that we want, is the feedback loop. So yeah, I think we need to just reset a little bit and swap our drag racers for a nice, sensible family car.
And in that context, obviously, Steve, actually, I was going to use the word context, but it's funny that you mentioned that, because context matters here. So there's really two schools of thought here, which is provide as much context as possible. And when I say context, I mean in terms of AI itself. So at a technical level, context is basically what your model is consuming and knows about your requests. And most people think of it when they use a chat interface, but it can be populated with all kinds of things. And there's also context rot as well, which can also affect your code that's generated. But context here matters a lot, I think. And I think people often forget that. So when you mentioned, Steve, how we have to learn and relearn what we've done before, so for iterating quickly, etc., we need to make sure that we can share that context across sessions. And so there are a lot of techniques to do this at the moment. And this is what we're seeing. This is the hot topic right now in the AI circles, which is, how do we get swarms of agents to do work on our behalf? How do we learn as we iterate? And context is king, essentially, here for all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think as well, oh, yeah, actually, we probably should go on to the next slide. I'm just checking the time. Yeah, I might come back to this later, but let's move on.
Too much. We need an AI to process all this.
Yeah, I've got so much to say. Okay, so this graph is moving on from there, and it's talking about the junior hiring freeze. So for a number of reasons, not just AI, but there has been a massive reduction in junior hiring of developers. 73% of organizations have reduced the number of junior developers over the past 2 years. So this is from some of our primary research, and yeah, it's huge. This is also consistent, and it's been seen in Google and Meta. Junior developers only make it's reduced something like 47% since 2023. That's you can check that in the report to confirm it. But I think I'm right. It's huge. It's a huge stat. It's a huge reduction. We still need juniors, but essentially, the reason AI is important here is because we've already talked about where AI excels. It excels at the high volume routine tasks. They are traditionally performed by the junior developers. And so there is a trend to reduce the number of junior developers because AI is doing their tasks, right? So the economic rationale that organizations are opting for here is that seniors with AI equals seniors plus juniors. The idea is that senior salaries are actually not too much higher than juniors, and juniors also take a lot of mentoring and teaching and learning, and so there's a lot of time there as well. So yeah, at the moment, the industry is very much focusing on seniors with AI over seniors plus juniors, which is problematic.
There is one variation on this that I will propose, which is non-technical and has nothing to do with software. And I know that we didn't touch on it in the report because there's just too much, and we wanted to talk about it from basically a developer productivity perspective. However, I would argue that some chunk of this, maybe a significant chunk of this, is due to the fact that we may have overhired during COVID, or after COVID rather, and that companies ramped up basically with hiring, and now we're seeing the tail end of that. And some people would speculate that there are a number of examples you could point to in the industry, i.e. Block, for example, which just did a reduction in force of 4,000 people. And they attribute AI as the reason for that, but it may be due to the fact that they may have ramped up too quickly. But anyways, I put that out there just as an FYI.
No, that's a really good point, because actually I think I even touch on that in the report. I'm just looking through it. So I can't find it, but so this has happened actually before. So this is not purely due to AI as well. We're currently going through a pretty hectic time in the economy. So reduction in junior hiring is definitely that's definitely a side effect from that as well. But AI has contributed to this as well. So historical data suggests, though, that this has happened before for the dot-com burst, where reduction in junior hiring was drastic. And then a few years later, we all realized we needed those juniors, and there was insane inflation for senior developers. And after COVID is also, because there was a lot of reduction, there was junior hiring reduction in COVID as well. And there was a ramp up of hiring again, which is why I pointed out the 2023, because it was up 47% from now in junior hiring, but it also meant that senior inflation also increased. So it's just a balance that we're figuring out. It's probably, I mean, these are just predictions that we've made in the AI Pulse report. They could be wrong, but there are trends that we have seen historically that may be occurring again. Yeah.
I think it should be important to note here that if you are a junior, you looking at this screen, listening to my voice right now, if you are a junior, get skilled up on AI. Don't worry about what's happening on the hiring free side. If you are skilled up on AI, and believe me, you'll surpass seniors in this capability. If you're better at AI than the seniors, you're going to get snatched up in no time.
Yeah, and there's jobs. Yeah, sorry, go Steve. You go, Steve.
Oh, I was just going to say this pattern that you're talking about with the dot-com bubble bursting. There's like this little train that's kind of left the station now, whereby if we reduce the hiring of junior developers, that means that in 5 years' time there are no new senior developers, because they would be coming from this junior developer pool. And we also know that super experienced developers, we're very bad at keeping them in the industry, because we either promote them into management, which they hate, and it takes them away from the thing they're amazing at, or they decide to go and live in a cabin in the woods. We've all had those thoughts. So there's going to be this problem whereby we're going to be having to pay amounts of money that convince people to come back from management roles and back from their cabin in the woods to come and develop for us, which is a little bit like what we saw with COBOL, right? COBOL was gone. Hey, we're not using that anymore. And then people were like, actually, no, we are still using it. It's critical for stuff that we're doing. Find me some COBOL developers. And then all these COBOL developers kind of came out of retirement for huge consultancy wages to help with that COBOL problem. And I'm sure as a result of that, we learned our lesson, and we either started training new people in COBOL or we stopped using it, right? Yeah.
Anecdotally, Stephen, I know this isn't related, but Anthropic just announced, well, they didn't just, but a few weeks ago, they did announce a COBOL tool for Claude. And incidentally, IBM's stock dropped after that announcement. So there you go.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So we just have to watch out that we're not repeating that pattern. Yes. Because we're going to starve the chain of people. And we know that senior developers are particularly good at making AI do the right thing, because they know what the right thing looks like. So we need to make sure that we're developing talent that can decide if the thing that's being built is good or not. And I don't know what that looks like in the new world. Right? When we bring junior developers through with AI, they're going to turn into something a bit different to what we're used to. So we're going to have to learn that as well. So there's lots of cool stuff for us to explore in terms of this hiring freeze trend.
Yeah, and there are new roles emerging that are AI assisted. You need that AI knowledge to actually be successful in the role.
Good point.
So and I think that while their titles like AI engineer and there's a few others, it's not quite clear what those roles really look like, only because AI is changing so rapidly. So we as an industry are still adapting to this change. There's going to be, more roles emerging that definitely need expert knowledge of AI to be successful, because it's here to stay, I think.
Hear, hear.
at this point. So there's so much that you could do as juniors. There's so much you could do as juniors to just keep upskilling. Actually, that's a big segment in the report, but for now I'll move on, being prompted. So moving on from there is just, I guess, prediction of the fact that we have reduced junior developer hiring in the industry, leading to a potential senior talent crisis. So developer progression from junior to senior generally takes 5 to 7 years, and this is something that can't be skipped, that needs that direct experience to develop all those, I guess, critical problem solving and foundational skills to become experts. Then the normal trajectory of developers in the industry, this is a stat that is, again, from the Stack Overflow survey, the 2025 Stack Overflow survey, is that 44% of developers are thinking of leaving the role, mostly those with more experience. So this is the 6 to 10 years, 11 to 20 years, and 20 plus years of experience, 44% of thinking of leaving the role. So that is a normal, a natural progression, which is what Steve mentioned before, but it's going to create vacancies in the industry, and we are not in a position at this stage where we have enough juniors to fill those roles in the next, probably 3 to 5 years. So that's kind of what this slide is saying. On another note is that we, for our primary survey, we asked respondents what roles they perceived to be most at risk from AI and AI integration of their organization. And 62% of developers actually reported concern for their own careers.
Mm-hmm.
So developers are very aware of AI capabilities because they work with it firsthand. Probably the, I guess, they know most about it. It does make sense. But it puts things into perspective because they were the only group to actually show this level of self-awareness. And so that could just be, lots of other roles like business analysts, designers, all those things. Maybe they're just not aware of AI capabilities yet. Maybe a bit of denial, who knows, a bit of both. But yes, that was a really interesting stat that I found.
Yeah, I love that. So other people predict it will affect other roles, not the role that they do, but they don't predict it will affect their own role. So it might just be a little bit of optimism, right? Like, I think I'll be okay. But developers seem to realize that they're going to be affected by it. So that's super interesting.
I think people worried about this when compilers first came out in the 70s and 80s, like I can't write my own bytecode. I think it'll be fine. At the end of the day, AI, you're going to generate stuff that needs to be understood. And there's a whole bunch of architectural decisions that have to go into the solutions you're building, and understanding how things scale on the front end, on the back end, where your contention lies, etc. That requires expertise. And AI will get you there, but I think that we're still going to need developers at the end of the day to help understand all this.
Yeah, I used to work with someone whose job was to make wizard installers for the software that we created. And Their full-time job was basically packaging it up with a wizard to go onto a CD so that when you got the CD, you could double click and it would guide you to install it, right? And because that's how we sold our business software.
Yes.
Obviously, no one does that anymore. Like, we're not posting CDs to anyone anymore. So, like, aspects will disappear, but there will be lots of stuff left.
Yeah, we call that the next finish lifestyle.
That's the one. So I suppose the question about all of this is, what can we do about it?
Yes. So, yes, I feel like there's a lot of doom and gloom, but there is some optimism from AI, for sure. There's actually so much, but this is just one bit. But from the research, there was a way to scale AI well and, I guess receive the the full benefits from AI investments and, I guess helping maintain those, the talent pipeline, and that was automation. So this slide is saying that there was a few studies that we found, and there's actually been a lot since I've written the report, where organizations in the early stages of AI adoption were found to perform below the industry average, and that's from a enterprise maturity study by MIT. And high performers had the automation capabilities that AI needs to function well. So able to see that, we're able to see, I guess, the value of it. And then the second study is from the BCG report. I feel like it's the widening AI value gap. And 74% of companies struggle to scale AI, but the ones that did had built fit for purpose technology and foundations. So the idea behind this slide is that the successful companies that were able to scale AI had the automation capabilities and underlying infrastructure that allowed, I guess, productivity to be measured very easily and successfully. I will also note that they used AI strategically, and implemented it well into their workflow, into their current workflow that obviously was very efficient, and that is how they were able to scale their AI investments. All of those things still need human oversight. That's a really important thing. So even if you do add AI into any sort of like workflow, even if it's very efficient, it all still needs human oversight. So yeah, I'm just putting that there. And the DORA report actually goes into this a bit further and says that CD practices automation through CD practices or continuous delivery practices are very common amongst the highest performing teams. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think Steve has something to say on this.
It's important to have a really super clear policy around how AI is being used in your organization, because that means if you don't have a clear policy, there'll be a bunch of people who think they probably shouldn't use it, and so they're using it less than you would want. And there'll be a bunch of people who are just using it to the max. So having a clear policy brings them to the same level. And one of the things that always comes up and is in the AI model that Dora have produced, which is work in small batches, right? It's the way to develop stuff. Let's do it.
But I want to boil the ocean.
Yep.
Yep.
So this is the path forward.
Yes. So this is the final slide. But essentially, it's an overview of what we've talked about, and I guess the steps forward, that can be taken. So the idea is to focus on workflow over tools. So you need a clear idea of where AI is going to go, a clear problem to solve with AI when you are implementing it, and continuous delivery practices really does provide a framework for this. It's not about the tool, it's about whether the pipeline or process can handle the tool. I think that's the key here. The second is to invest in talent now. And I think that based on history, organizations that are actually upskilling developers where they can are better positioned in the long term, because they're going to be training those developers. They're going to be nurturing them into senior roles, and seniors are, obviously super, super important. And that's why juniors are as well. And lastly is enhance, don't replace, which is to use AI for routine tasks. So repetitive routine tasks, while preserving skill development and while preserving and nurturing and I guess allowing those critical problem solving skills to, I guess, preserving them in all levels of experience. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's worth getting back to continuous delivery, looking at the practices. I think the interesting thing is that I think things like automated tests, automated deployments, good monitoring and observability are becoming even more important now. So there's a whole bunch of technical practices in the continuous delivery book it's worth investing in those so that you can actually reap these rewards. And they pay back with or without AI. They're needed in both cases. So they're a solid investment. So
yeah. Sorry,
go ahead.
and just one more thing, and they do also allow that expertise of developers to be encouraged to develop as well. So again, the human oversight is needed. So yeah, that's what continuous delivery does as well. It kind of helps maintain the pipeline, which is what we need. Yeah.
So yeah, thank you everyone for listening to us have a chat about all of these really cool findings. If there's anything you would like to ask, we would love to take your questions. We've tried to get in just in time to have some. So I'm hoping there'll be some nice, gnarly, challenging ones for us to have a look at.
I've expanded the slide here just to show off the QR code, which we've included here. But yeah, if you want, you can download the report now. It's available now. You can go and check it out up at octopus.com. Let us know if you have any troubles or anything like that downloading it. But in the meantime, there is a question here that we can go ahead and answer. Thanks for the presentation. It's a yearly report going forward. So I knew this was going to come up, which is why I insisted to Charlotte that we put the year on the report itself, because that implies that there might be future ones. So Charlotte, what are we doing around the ongoing publication and updating of this report?
That's a good question. I'm actually not too sure. I think that I loved writing it. I would happily do a year-over-year report, and I think that it's changing so dramatically that there's definitely going to be enough content out for me to do that. I think it's something important to report on, but I think ultimately it's up to Steve.
What I would say is, even in the other reports that we're planning on doing, AI is going to have to feature in them. So whenever we're talking about platform engineering, continuous delivery, just software in general, AI is always going to be part of that conversation, because it's just, we saw today 90% of people are using AI. I think Dora, when they last checked, it may even be higher than 90% of people are using AI. So it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So I would love us to do another AI Pulse report to follow up on this. But in the meantime, you don't even have to wait a year. The other reports that we're going to be releasing this year will also include it.
Nice segue there, Steve. You can find these up at our publication site, which is at octopus.com/publications there. In addition to the AI Pulse report, you'll find other ones, including some ones that are coming up. So, Charlotte, did you want to talk a little bit about our future of platform engineering, etc. Report, and the platform engineering Pulse report and state of GitOps report that we've published?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I'm actually working on the future of platform engineering report now. The data has just, I've been collected from the survey. And the survey actually is where I added some AI questions, which helped write this report. So, so I'm writing that now. I'm not sure when that's going to be out. Just, be aware that it's coming. And it will definitely focus a little bit on AI, because platform engineering is very much integrated with AI. And then we've got some other previous reports. We've got one on platform engineering, which was released the end of last year, and that's what the next one is built on.
Awesome. Yep. Lots of reports there. Just to remind folks, we've got some webinars coming up later on this month and next month as well. So check those out at octopus.com/webinars. I'll include the link here as well if you're all curious. These are the live events that we host every week almost now. We're happy to respond to your questions. And as always, if you need to find a recording of this, you'll find it up on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe, as the kids say, youtube.com/octopusdeploy. And there you have it. It wraps up today's webinar. Thank you very much for your time and attention joining us here today. Thank you to Steve and Charlotte for sharing their thoughts and feelings about the AI Pulse report. Go download it now. It's available up on our website. You can find it at octopus.com/publications, along with our other publications that we have published all the time. If you have any comments or concerns, etc., feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear from you. But until next time, Charlotte, Steve, thanks for joining us. Happy deployments, everyone. Happy AI deployments, maybe. We'll see you in the future from a terminal near you. All right. Take care, everyone. Happy deployments.